Hello everyone, I'm Parag Prasad, business coach with Action Coach. And I'd just like to start and open with an important question today. Is reducing your marketing spend the best strategy for your practice right now? Because when times are challenging, it's exactly what businesses tend to do. And that's a strategy that I want to explore with you and potentially challenge today. Now, this is the first in a series of short, highly practical, fast-paced webinars that I'll be delivering to help you all with your business skills, enabling you to run your practices more profitably both now and in the future. So it's an interesting fact that the marketing agencies actually that we're coaching, and there's at least 5 of them, are reporting a 50 to 90% reduction in their fees during this crisis. So it's clear and obvious that businesses have hugely reduced their marketing spend at the moment. And this is the same pattern that we've seen throughout recessions or challenging times. And that reduction in marketing spend is usually a knee-jerk emotional reaction that's been driven by the fear and the worry that uncertainty creates. So it's an understandable reaction, but is it the right one? Because there is a real danger for your practice of becoming invisible. Because we've all been hit by this. The change that we've been hit by, it's been scary, it's been fast, but this situation is finite. And this is illustrated by the human change curve that I've shown here on the screen. And this shows the range of emotions that we've all been through as business owners and leaders in times like these. And if you look at the left there, you can see the initial emotions, the denial, the frustration that many people felt, and that really evolved into fear, worry, anxiety, and even despair for so many businesses. What on earth is going on? What do we do? How do we get out of this? How do we move forward? Will we even survive? And there's been that feeling of helplessness for many. But now I'm seeing a lot of practices and businesses adapting, shifting, changing, and adapting to this new situation. I'm already hearing and seeing a lot of new opportunities arising because there always are for those who are ready, who are being proactive, and who are visible in their marketplace so that they can take advantage of the opportunities that are coming. Because the thing is, changes are constant in business. It was there in 2019 with Brexit and all the stresses and anxieties that caused. It's here now in 2020, of course, and it will be here again in future. So change is always there. And as business owners and leaders, we can't be put off by that. Because the opportunities are there and will be there for those who adapt the fastest. And that includes adapting your marketing. But switching off your marketing is simply not an option. Because as those opportunities arise, as we come out of this, as we now are, those leads, those opportunities will go to those practices who have consistently been marketing so that they've remained visible throughout. They've built relationships with new prospects. They've nurtured relationships with previous clients and prospects. And they certainly have not gone invisible. And a big shift and adaptation with marketing, of course, is a greater shift to online marketing. Of course, social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, and so on, all these platforms have been around for years now. And yet, many practices have not been participating. In fact, I would suggest many have considered it optional, and that optional participation in these platforms is now becoming more and more mandatory because of the shifts in marketing over recent years. Because online marketing and marketing generally is just evolving just so fast, and that evolution is just getting faster and faster. I mean, let me give you an example of that. Restaurants and hotels, I've coached a number of those over the years. And in the past, 5-6 years ago, those businesses could continue to trade based on their reputation and their previous clientele. And then a thing called TripAdvisor came along. And almost overnight, these businesses were forced to adapt due to the shifts in online marketing. They were forced to go out there and embrace TripAdvisor and the online world. And to be frank, if they didn't, they were going to struggle or were even gone. And I've coached a number of these businesses, and they suddenly were obsessed with getting reviews and getting good ones, of course, because they knew that if they didn't adapt to this change fast, they simply could not survive. It wasn't their choice. This change just evolved and arrived, and they had to shift. And those that didn't, unfortunately, got left behind. And yet many practices have historically relied on personal networks and those face-to-face relationships. And usually that is just not enough to find new clients. If it was, you'd have already been achieving the financial goals that you wanted to achieve over the years. And I know from speaking to so many businesses that that simply has not been the case. So if you find yourself with fewer leads, fewer opportunities, a smaller pipeline, then think about it this way. Here's an analogy. If you have fewer fish in the pond, you need a bigger net. And that net is your marketing. Because by and large, the more marketing you do, the more leads you'll have in your net. Marketing is, by and large, a numbers game. And underpinning that marketing is the need to build a clear plan. Because you need to fish harder to find more of those leads, and therefore it needs a plan to underpin that. How are you going to find these leads? And so you really need to consider these key four areas. What are you actually going to be doing? What marketing? LinkedIn posts, blog posts, picking up the phone. What are you actually going to be doing and when? So how often? Weekly, daily, monthly? What needs to be happening at those frequencies? So what are you doing? When are you doing it? And then an absolutely crucially overlooked part of the plan is who is responsible for the what and the when. Which person is responsible for execution? Is that clear in your practice? Because if it isn't, this is where a lot of the marketing tends to fall through the cracks, because nobody had clear responsibility for doing things. And then, of course, what's the outcome you're looking to achieve? Most important one of those is how many leads. How many leads are you looking to generate from your marketing? That's why you need a plan. The plan will tell you what you need to do, and then you measure the outcomes. How many leads? It's also very important to think about budgets, of course. What's your budget for your marketing? Have you set one, whether it's high or low? How much is that financially? Who's responsible? What's their budget in terms of the amount of time they're going to be spending? So all of this needs to be clear, because you're battling here to bring in more business. So get clarity of the plan so you can find more opportunities in your marketplaces right now and take advantage of those. And the other really critical point to tackle that underpins all of your marketing is, are you clear on the value that you bring to your customer? In other words, your value proposition. And are you communicating your value in your marketing? In other words, why should they buy from you? Why should they choose you? Because in the mind of your prospects, do they see huge value or do they see a cost? Which one is really winning in their minds? Because if they don't see the value that you bring, then they will just see price. So how clearly are you articulating your value to your prospects? And to be frank, it can't be that well if your conversations are always ending up going back to price. Now, this isn't always very easy to define for practices, which is why we coach people very strongly on getting clear on this definition. Otherwise, it does become all about price. And that's a dangerous place to go. It becomes a race to the bottom. In other words, who's the cheapest? And your margins become constantly eroded until there's nothing left. So I'll finish today as I finished all of my workshops and seminars and CPD sessions over the last 12 years. And that's by asking you all to take note of at least one action that you can go away and implement in your practices so that you can actually derive the benefit from those. Because as business coaches, we're all about learning and educating, but also then making sure that people take action so that they can derive a benefit from what they've learned. So I'd certainly advocate that you all do that and give it a try. And also, I'd also add that for those of you who are coming to one of my live, real face-to-face sessions, I've run a number of those over the years for the iStruct. We've got more coming up in 2020 and 2021. We'll go into a lot more detail on these concepts at those sessions. So I also look forward to helping you a lot further when we meet face-to-face in the future.